Ladies and gentlemen, let's go.
Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at?
Well, actually, I live in Delaware now, so does that make me a Delawarean?
Singing girl.
You know, Beyonce is my friend in my head. Jay my people sometimes, too.
Yeah. I mean, like, be true, man.
You know, when I was a kid, I had an imaginary enemy. Like, does that make me crazy?
Life as P, presented by Say What Radio.
Hello, what's the deal? What's going on? This is Life as P. I'm your host, Phoenix Ash. If this is your first time joining me, I appreciate you giving us a shot. You listening in, you taking advantage of whoever gave you the option and said, hey, you should check this out. Thank you for listening to that. Or even if you were just scrolling through and just was like, let me see what this is going on. Yo, thanks. If you are a repeat listener, yo, you got my heart. You already know that. You allow me to talk things through, get over the hump, and hopefully you're getting over the hump too. So Thanksgiving is about to roll up on us. I'm actually going to cook this year, but I'm going to cook. My cooking is going to be mad light, because it'll just be three of us. And, I'm not like somebody who is like really big into cooking. I know that there's a lot of judgmental women, a lot of judgmental men will be like, oh my God, they act like that's my womanly duty. But I'm like, no, I just need to keep the people in the house nourished. Whether I cook it or I purchase it or whatever. But yeah, that's where I see it. But I'm going to cook. My daughter is super duper hype that we are going to make macaroni and cheese because I make a slamming one. Even though I'm not, someone who cooks a lot, I cook pretty decently for the things that I do cook. And macaroni and cheese is my thing. Everybody who's tried it is like, it's bomb. So I'm most proud of it. And my daughter has been cooking it with me since she was 2 years old. So she's 4 now. She's super duper hyped that's what we're going to be about on Thursday. So that's what's up. And I'm just like this is the end of the year, right? So for some people, this is when things die down. I know when I was working in advertising, this was the time of year where everything started to get a little quiet. There weren't as many pitches going on. It wasn't a bunch of you got to do this, do that. It was mostly finance was probably running around the most because they were trying to tie up the financial ends. But, is where everything calmed down. But I feel like my life is just reverse of that now. The past couple of years towards the end of the year, I just feel like it was a mad rush to end the year a particular way. And it wasn't even like on some old, I have New Year's resolutions or anything like that. It was just there's some things that needed to be tied up, some goals that needed to be met. And, this year is no different. I'm actually, as I speak, I'm probably about 350 words away from my weekly writing goal. And which is great because for the past few weeks, I have not been making my goal. I've been losing whole weeks on writing like, oh my God, wake up like I haven't written. And, when I was independent and I was self-publishing, that was a thing that, I could probably get over a lot easier. But I'm very much a stickler about keeping your word and sticking to your contracts. And when you have obligations to someone else, don't ask me why I'm more obligated to someone else than I am to myself. We don't have enough time for that kind of therapy session. But is that your issue? Are you more obligated do you need someone to give you a deadline or to feel like they're looking for something from you in order to accomplish your goal? For me, that's very helpful. I sometimes will make up deadlines for myself and make up goals for myself just to make sure I hit milestones in a bigger project because you can't leave me loosey-goosey. No, you hear the way that I talk to you guys. I'm so abstract. My whole way of moving is abstract. It doesn't take long for me to be like, what was I doing in the first place? And then I'm dog tired. I'm so tired. I've been taking vitamins. I've been like, am I coming down with a cold? Trying to take medicine, all of that. And it seems like I'm perpetually fighting a yawn. Just, oh my goodness, it's crazy. But, I'm thinking about goals and how we reach them and how dedicated we are to them. And I wonder, what's the line? What do we always sacrifice? Like, you must sacrifice this. Like, some people say it's sleep. Some people's like, I sleep when I'm dead, I actually am unable to sacrifice sleep. Oddly so. I am unable to sacrifice it because when my body decides that I am sleepy, it is done. There's been times that I've thought about, oh, you know what? I have this thought and I want to record something and I'm going to put it on IG, or I'm going to send it to my producer and we're going to talk about it and we're going to build a show around it. And I will hear myself talking and then I'll like trail off into another thought and then like snap out of it and be like, wait a minute, that was a sleep thought. Like, it was incoherent. The words were crossing over each other. It wasn't making any sense. So I, for one, cannot sacrifice sleep. I need to sleep because my body will just give out on me. It'll just give up. But like, I don't often know what to sacrifice. So for instance, let's say I have a writing goal of like 5,000 words in 1 week, which is real light. It's super light. It means that I'm not even writing 1,000 words a day. It's super light for a goal, but it's an attainable goal for me. It's something that I haven't been doing, but I know that I can do. And, I can finish a novella in a few weeks and, get it edited and get it, fine tuned and have somebody read it and stuff like that. So I need to do a draft, in a shorter amount of time than I would, because I actually lose interest in things that I write sometimes. I just will be like, I don't feel like it anymore. I'm tired of this story. I need to like put it down for a while, but I beat myself up with guilt so much that I need to pick up something else. Like, when I get tired of something, I crave something else. It's never like I'm tired of it and I'm just going to leave it alone and I'm not going to do anything. There was a time that was it, but it's not like that anymore. Now I have to pick something else up in its place and then come back. But I have to set attainable goals for myself, but sometimes I don't know if even those goals are something that I sacrifice. For instance, if I'm at 4,500 words at the end of the night and I finished a chapter and I still have to think and imagine and dream what the next chapter is it worth it to force myself to write 400 more words? Or do I give my brain the amount of time it needs to dream up what comes next? So maybe I sacrifice my word count in order to get some consistency, in order to give myself the opportunity to imagine, give myself the space to think something through, to decide what is going to be next. But that's a hard sacrifice for me sometimes, because when you're under a deadline or you're looking at a contract or you're trying to fulfill a certain amount of books within a certain amount of time, it's crazy. But I don't want to write, I don't want to like write it 400 times. You know what I mean? And I know that if I force myself into a thought that I'm not ready for or into a space that I'm not ready for, it's going to be nonsense. It is. It's going to be nonsense. I'm going to have to rewrite it about 600 times, because by the time I'm really getting into the knit and grit of everything else in a second or third draft, excuse me, y'all. Oh my God. See, told you. I was fighting that yawn for the longest. Thanks for letting me let it out. But by the time I'm in the second or third draft, I'll be like, what the crap was I talking about? Like, why did I write this? What was it in reference to? I'll look at my outline, be like, this don't even match the outline. I mean, I can't sacrifice sleep. And then I can't sacrifice the dream. Like I said, the moment in which I close my eyes and imagine what is happening next, what makes sense to me, what the heroine's trajectory looks like, I need time to think those things through. So a lot of people work that out in their outline. And actually, I know I've done a show about the outline before that it took me so long to adopt it. I don't think I'm fully adopting it. So I wrote this outline for this book and I probably got about 20,000 words into the book when I just was like, I need a break. I just wasn't motivated to finish it. I know the story. It should be easy to write, but I just couldn't push myself. And I started to crave to write something else. So I get into this other story and like within a matter of a week, I'm a third or almost a third finished with the book. And I'm like, okay. But, I had to sacrifice. I had goals for the other book. I was supposed to reach a certain word count. I was supposed to reach a certain point in the book. I was supposed to, and I just paused it altogether. Like, boom, shut it down. I haven't written in that story for weeks. So I basically feel like I sacrificed the entire story in order to write another story. But like, I just don't know. At one point, are you so headstrong that you force whatever it is that you believe is your goal, which I believe that there's tremendous, tremendous benefit in that, right? To keep going, to stay on the right path, to attain everything that you intend to attain. It takes discipline. It takes putting some stuff aside. But where's the opportunity to dream? And am I letting go of ideas in favor of being such a stickler about sticking to this particular plan? Or is there room for me to deviate and dream a little bit? I find that for me, at least right now, for who I am, I need the space to dream a little bit. I need to say, you know what, if I wrote 45, 50 instead of 5,000, then it's okay because of the brain work that's going to happen in between. It's different if I just was like, oh, no, I'm stop here and, whatever. But there's some brain work that has to happen in between. And so I was talking to this guy, and I've talked to this before, that, he was like, you're really hard on yourself. And I try to figure out what the balance is to be hard on myself or to let some things go. And I don't think I really know that. Does anybody really know that for themselves? Because if you do, if there's a rule of thumb that you use, or if there's some sort of measuring tape for it, please hit me up at P Writes on Instagram or at P Writes on Twitter. Like let me know what's the deal with that, because I struggle with trying to figure out how hard to go in the moment and when to release a little bit so that I have the opportunity to add extra momentum to the next moment. I think that's basically what I'm saying, is that for me, if I pause and dream a little bit, if I imagine a little bit, if I sketch it out in my mind a little bit, it allows me to like double up in the next moment when it comes to going hard. So right now, I may not make the goal today or tonight, but I'll be able to zoom towards the next goal because I gave myself the mental space to figure it out and then to put that stuff into place. At least that's what I'm seeing, or I think I'm discovering about myself, because I don't truly know myself all 100%. Do you know yourself 100%? Because I don't know. I think I've been on a journey of self-discovery for the past, 3 years, definitely since I started this podcast. And I have not arrived at like total comfort or total knowledge of who I am as a person, as a writer, as an author, as a screenwriter, as a mom. I'm enjoying a lot of this journey. I am, but I'm very much of the perspective that I have not arrived, if that makes sense to anyone. If you've arrived, God bless you. But I've not arrived. I'm getting there. I'm starting to have some understanding. This is the most I've ever understood myself. Or actually, I think it's just the most I've ever took the time to try to understand myself, because I want to understand why I do the things that I do, or why I work the way I work, and I want to know the patterns of what I found to be successful for me. So I guess I kind of got to study me. I understand, studying everyone else who's successful, and these are all the traits of successful people. And I read those articles, for sure I do, and try to take into account what they're doing, what the pattern is that, these successful people follow, that maybe I can incorporate into my personal life so that I too can have a level that I deem successful. But at one point, I think, it's important for all of us to study ourselves. What have you done? The things that you've deemed successful, like, how did you get there? Did you stumble upon them? Were you in your imagination, or were you, I'm going to stick to this goal and I'm going to do everything by this. I'm not going to deviate at all. For some people, the answer is different for everyone, I think. For me, though, I think having a general idea of where I'm going and what I'm doing, but giving myself room to deviate to the right or left, I feel like that might be my thing, like what I do, I think. That's where it is right now. But I think, do you know yourself well enough to know if you deviate, if that totally throws you? There's people that I know in my life that a small deviation will throw them totally off course. So they have to stick to a plan. I know a few people who are parents of autistic children, and they're like, I got to keep the routine. They need to stay in the routine. But, there are a lot of people, I used to work for this woman. She had Asperger's, which is sometimes on the autism spectrum, sometimes it's not, whatever. But she, was very much a stickler, could not deviate. It had to be done this way, that way. And it had to be this time. She actually didn't even tell me that was her issue until like I was leaving. And I was like, sis, you should have led with that. Maybe we could have figured out a way to work together so that I wouldn't have had to leave. But yeah, I'm like, do you know yourself? Have you studied yourself? Have you figured out what your pattern is? Have you figured out what it is you cannot sacrifice for the love of the goal or for the chase of whatever it is? And, because I think a lot of people think about what they can sacrifice. What can you sacrifice? Oh, I can give up this, that. But like, what are the things, small things? Like, I feel like in general, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to sacrifice my child. I'm going to spend, and I hate when people make it as though I am sacrificing my child. Like, oh, you spend a lot of time writing, or you spend a lot of time, working on a podcast, or, you're spending a lot of hours at work. And it's like, what? I'm doing this so that the end result is a happier parent for my child. Also, a parent who can invest in my child's future, and a parent who can set an example to her child to say, listen, I don't want you to have to get to the point in your life where you're choosing what you have to do rather than what you're passionate about. I want those to be one and the same for you. I want you early on to be thinking about how you can earn a living doing the things that you're passionate about and the things that you want to chase. So I'm doing this for my child. So I can't stand when somebody, basically sets the expectation as though I should put all my dreams and all my passions on hold because I have a small child. I think that the fact that I have a small child is reason to pursue these dreams and to pursue these passions. She is my reason. One day we were laying in the bed and she was rubbing my face, because she does that. And she's like, Mom, you look like a Y. Now, she was like tracing over lines on my face. And so she was talking about the letter Y. But I'm looking at her, and in my mind, I'm like, you look like a Y. That's what, like, you look like a question Y. Like, you look like my answer Y. You look like a Y. And like I said, I just can't stand when someone will come to people, particularly women. I feel like women in general get the brunt of this, where there's an expectation that you put all your dreams, all your loves, your passion, everything aside for the sake of raising this family without the idea of who you are raising this family. Like, you're not just a body, you're a person. And it's not just your presence that rubs off on Presence is great. Awesome. Please don't get it twisted that I'm saying you should be an absentee parent. And that is not who or what I am. But what I'm saying is that who's present? Like, are you investing in who's present? Because just being present, just being there and going through the motions has its own adverse effects. So I'm investing in who is present. I'm making sure that when I am present, I am the best of me that's present so that I can pull out the best of you, my child. So I'm constantly trying to figure out what it is that I can and cannot sacrifice. But the more I study myself, the more I have to be clear about what it is I cannot sacrifice. And sleep for me is one of them. Like I said, there's people who's like, oh, I sleep when I'm dead. I am not one of those people because I will die if I don't sleep. So I be out. Anybody who's known me since I was a child will tell you nothing different. I fell asleep in the back of a club. I wasn't even high. I wasn't drunk or nothing. I was straight sleepy, but I was waiting for somebody I knew to perform. And while I was waiting, I closed my eyes. The club was jumping, but I closed my eyes for a second or 10 minutes or 20 minutes. But I just straight went to sleep. Like, oh my God, I'm so tired. When I was in college, just being away for the first time, I wanted to go to all these clubs and I did, and I had a great time. But best believe people had to wake me up to tell me it's time to get dressed to go to this club. I need to sleep first. I was hyped once I got in there, but I need to sleep first. So when I look at the pattern of who I am and who I've been all my life, sleep is necessary for me. Sleep is how I function. I will start talking some random jibber jabber, start talking about eggs in the middle of a conversation just because I'm sleepy. So I don't know. What is it that you cannot sacrifice that you're realizing that, even though this is what so many people you deem successful say they can live without, or what you have to do, have you studied your own pattern enough to know that, you are a slight deviation from someone else's pattern of success? What's your deviation? What can you sacrifice and what can't you sacrifice? And, are you spending as much time studying yourself as you're spending studying others? Because their exact formula is not going to be the exact formula for you. Sure, they have hints, rules, patterns of things that worked across a number of people. That's great. And a lot of those things will be helpful to you. But I don't want you to beat yourself up about your slight deviations. Things that, turn the course just slightly, but, are knocking you off kilter. Like, chill. Don't beat yourself up. I was about to give myself a whole whooping for not making my writing goal. And I'm like, I'm 350 words shy and at the end of a chapter, and I haven't really dreamt up what comes next. So then I'm about to beat myself up and go, well, you should have outlined. If you would have outlined, you'd have known what comes next. And I was like, but I know the story. The story is whole outline in my head is the details. And I still would have to think of the details even if I outlined. So stop beating myself up. And my sense is that there's many of you that are beating yourself up too. But I think if we just take a little time to study our own patterns and study what works for us or what has worked for us before, in cooperation with the, tips on how to be successful or, habits of successful people, couple it with that. But definitely study yourself, because you're just as worthy and just as valid as anyone else that you're looking at who's, reached whatever you believe is a goal. That may not have been their goal at all, but there's something. They're on their way somewhere doing something. And, you're fantasizing because you feel like you haven't reached at least that. So, you may want to take some of the things into consideration, but please take yourself into consideration. Who are you? Study you. What's worked for you when you have made accomplishments, when you have reached goals? What was the nature of that? What was the situation? I know for me, I'm still studying that because I'm not sure if they were all the same. I'm not sure what that pattern is. Like I said, for now, what it looks like for me is that I need a general picture and then I need space to deviate, and I need to be okay with that. But that's not it for everybody. I just want to know that you know what works for you. Because if you know what works for you and you follow that, chances are you're going to be as successful and more than what you dreamt of. So that's my piece. I hope you have some peace. If you want to check out my work, please look up Cookies and Crumbles on Amazon. It's available on Amazon Books as well as Kindle. That's my most recent novel. You could also check out Soil Sheets, which is a related novel that was released a little bit before Cookies and Crumbles. Soil Sheets is available on Amazon Books as well as Kindle. And my first novel, oh my God, In Her Makeup. That's still my baby. It's a standalone novel and it's available on Amazon Books, Kindle, Audible, and Apple Books. So if you want to listen to that, I believe it's free if it's the first book you download when you join Audible, or even if you do the free trial. So yeah, listen, read, let me know, leave a review. I don't know. Jump in my inbox. Give me some tips. Let me know what's cracking. Let me know what you want me to talk about. I don't know if I'm going to put it on the show, but we can at least have a conversation. All right. Until the next time when we can exchange power, please enjoy the holiday. Peace.